Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Peter. This is a presentation for PV systems at Oregon Institute of Technology. This project is focused on PV systems for cannabis cultivation. So, brief introduction into the project. As I said, the intended use is for a mixed light cultivation area. And so with cannabis cultivation, you have three categories: indoor, outdoor, and mixed light. And so with mixed light, you have supplemental lighting for early mornings and in the evenings, and then as well as you have fans, heaters, and air conditioning as well. So for this project, I went ahead and I designed a system for a standalone as well as grid tied, and these two are going to be evaluated based on their economic feasibility as well as their cost benefit. So just quickly, so here's the proposed greenhouse. These greenhouses have not been built yet, so all the loads were estimated and their demands have been estimated as well. So as far as the justification of this project goes, really I kind of looked at it in terms of the owner of this facility, right? And so the justification for them, of course, comes down to one thing. That's the bottom line: profit. So for energy, these are energy-intensive facilities. And so with cannabis cultivation, the energy costs account for about 50% of all your operating costs. And then specifically lighting is really the big part of that at about 40% of that. And with this project, it was actually projected to be more like 60%. So that's really justification for the owner. And now in terms of a kind of like community or broader spectrum justification, kind of look at the impact this has on the grid itself. And so Northwest Power Council projected or estimated in 2014 that there was 112 megawatt average, and that number was expected to double by 2035. So as you can see, there is a huge demand on the system. That graph on the bottom right there shows the energy demand for cannabis growers between 2014 and 2016 in rural Washington. So in 2014, the demand was about 20 kilowatts, and that had grown to 900 kilowatts in just over 2 years. Now the site, the proposed site, this is the plot of land. It's 20 acres, and it's broken up into 4 5-acre quadrants. I specifically chose that quadrant in the back for the PV array. I felt that had the best light and the least chance of having any sort of obstructions. So the PV array itself is 10,000 square feet, consists of 430 390 kilowatt panels. Those are LG panels, and so those are self-facing, and about 500 feet away is where the electrical housing would be, and that's where we would have the inverters, battery bank, charge controllers, so everything would go from there and then into the greenhouse. So a bit of an issue with Oregon in general and solar is that during those winter months, solar installation is really low. And so that the adverse effect there is compounded because that's the month where we would have the highest energy demand. So those are the months where we need the most light, where we need the most heat. So it's really compounded. So in order to supply the energy for the system during those months, the PV array had to be dramatically oversized in order to produce enough power. Okay, here is the projected load schedule, and as you can see, it is a complex system. There's AC, DC, 3-phase, 1-phase. So this is kind of a breakdown of the projected energy demand on the system. So the average daily load is 300 kilowatt hours, and the total connected is 46 kilowatts, and that's AC, and then total connected of about 300 DC watts as well. So this here is expected or proposed one-line diagram. As you can see, the off to the right, that is the PV array consisting of the 430 panels. That feeds into the charge controllers, and the way it's set up is that there's 43 strings of 10 parallels in panel, so producing just under right around 90 amps for each of those charge controllers, which can handle about 100 amps. So each string feeds into the battery bank, which consists of 316 batteries. Those are 300 amp hour batteries, And so this is set up as you have 4 in series and then 79 in parallel. Off the battery bank, I have a 3-phase inverter and then 1-phase inverters, and those feed into the various loads as well. So moving along here, this is a breakdown of the system components, their cost, and as well as a system summary. So as I mentioned before, the batteries are significantly expensive, right? And so they make up a majority of the cost of this project. So the total cost of this project is expected to be over $1.1 million. So it is a really expensive system. Now, as I mentioned, I went ahead and I did this based on a grid-tied system as well. And so really the great thing here is that with net metering, you eliminate the need for batteries. And at that point, utility companies become your battery bank. So the way this works is that you earn kilowatt-hour credits during those summer months, and then those can be used during the winter. So the top graph there is showing the expected energy demand and the expected energy produced, and the goal was to produce enough energy during those summer months to completely offset those winter months when you cannot produce enough energy for your system. And so I projected it to be about a demand of 94.7 megawatt hours and total energy produced during the year to be about 95.2 megawatt hours. So that was the goal. So this here is a breakdown of the grid-tied system. So as you can see, it is significantly simplified. There's no more batteries, no more charge controllers. So now we only have just one 3-phase inverter, and so all power produced is going into the grid, and then that is going to be with the bidirectional meter. It's going to keep track of the power you produce versus the power that you receive from the utility company. So the cost of this project is significantly less than the other one. Here's a quick rundown of the monthly energy costs from PGE. This is Schedule 32, which is a small non-residential. And so as you can see, the total yearly cost is about $10,000 a year, and that's without a PV system. And I think this is a pretty conservative estimate. I think in all reality, it would probably be more than this. So with a PV system, I would expect to completely offset, or the goal would be to completely offset your energy demand. So the way this works is that the only cost you'll be paying each month for your electricity is your basic charge, and that's $23 a month. So you save about $9,000. Based on all the estimates that I've made, it's $9,000 savings a year. And if we look into the ITC, the investment tax credit, which obviously this is cannabis, so we run into a bit of a gray area in terms of the federal laws around that. However, if this land is going to be used for legal or federally legal purposes, then we might be able to get at some of those investment tax credits, which will still be here for the next few years. So just in conclusion, as I said, the standalone system is not economically feasible or justifiable. It's obviously way too expensive, and I think that the grid-tied system does show some promise and that it should be explored. And of course, on the legal side of things, the federal laws regarding legal cannabis cultivation will probably present a problem for any sort of tax credits or incentives, but I think those avenues should be explored as well. Well, thanks for taking the time to watch the video. I didn't really get into the specifics in terms of the components, but I would be happy to supply anyone with those products and with those data sheets. Thanks again.